Ladies and gentlemen, there are times in life when we come across people who don't seem to like us. Their words, their actions, their energy, everything about them tells us they don't want us around. And when that happens, our natural instinct is to think, they must hate me. But what if I told you that hate isn't always the right word? What if I told you that sometimes what you're feeling isn't hatred at all? See, people are complicated. Their emotions, their actions, the way they treat you, it's not always about you. Sometimes what looks like hate is something deeper, something unspoken, something unresolved within them. And if you can recognize that, if you can see past the surface, you'll understand that not every cold stare, not every dismissive word, not every distant interaction is rooted in hatred. Tonight, I want to talk to you about 7 signs that a person doesn't just hate you. Because understanding this can change the way you move through life. It can give you peace. It can help you see people for who they really are, not just what they project. And maybe, just maybe, it can stop you from carrying burdens that were never yours to carry in the first place. Let's get into it. Their behavior is inconsistent. One day they greet you with a nod, the next day they act like you don't exist. One moment they engage in conversation, the next they barely acknowledge your presence. If someone truly hates you, their actions are usually consistent. Hatred is steady, it doesn't waver. But if someone seems to fluctuate between cold and cordial, there's something deeper going on. People battling their own emotions, their own past, their own struggles. Sometimes they don't even realize how they treat you. Their response to you might depend on what kind of day they're having. Maybe it's not personal at all. Maybe they're wrestling with something inside and you just happen to be standing in the crossfire. Some people push others away because they're afraid of connection. They keep their distance not because they despise you, but because they fear what being close to someone might mean. They've been hurt before, so they keep walls up, not out of hate, but out of self-preservation. Or maybe, just maybe, they don't know how to act around you. You remind them of someone from their past, a regret they haven't resolved, a wound that hasn't healed. It's not that they hate you. It's that you stir something in them they don't know how to handle. So if you see inconsistency in someone's behavior toward you, take a step back. Don't jump to conclusions. It might not be hate. It might be confusion. It might be inner turmoil. It might be something they don't even have the words to explain. They avoid conflict instead of engaging in it. When someone truly hates you, they'll take any opportunity to make it known. They'll call you out, they'll challenge you, they'll make sure you feel their hatred. But when someone simply has unresolved feelings toward you, when they don't hate you but don't know how to deal with you, they'll avoid conflict altogether. Silence can be more telling than words. Some people aren't built for confrontation. They would rather walk away, rather let things go unsaid, rather pretend like nothing is wrong than face the discomfort of a real conversation. It's not hatred, it's avoidance. Avoidance can come from fear. Fear of what they might say if they really open up. Fear of what you might think. Fear of being vulnerable. And sometimes fear of finding out that the problem isn't you, it's them. A person who avoids conflict might not be your enemy at all. They might be someone who simply doesn't know how to deal with what they feel. And in their silence, in their distance, in their refusal to engage, they're actually telling you more than they realize. So the next time someone dodges a difficult conversation, the next time they sidestep an issue instead of facing it, don't assume they hate you. Assume they're dealing with something they don't know how to express. They show signs of guilt or regret. Hate is ruthless. Hate doesn't look back. Hate doesn't hesitate. But if a person seems hesitant, if they seem to struggle with their actions toward you, that's not hatred. That's something else entirely. Maybe they avoid eye contact. Maybe they start to say something but stop themselves. Maybe their words sound sharp, but their body language betrays a certain reluctance. These are signs of internal conflict. These are signs of a person who is wrestling with something inside themselves. Guilt is a heavy burden. It makes people act in strange ways. A person who doesn't just hate you, but instead has mixed feelings, might be carrying guilt from past actions, from unspoken words, from things they wish they could take back but don't know how to fix. Some people hurt others not because they want to, but because they don't know how to do anything else. It's what they've learned, it's what they've seen, it's what they've been conditioned to do. But that doesn't mean they don't feel the weight of their actions. So if you see hesitation, if you see guilt, if you see regret in someone's eyes, understand that they are battling something deeper than hatred. Hatred is simple, but what they're feeling, that's complex. That's human. They keep their distance, but not out of malice. When someone truly hates you, they want to see you fail. They want to make your life harder. They will go out of their way to put obstacles in front of you, to bring negativity into your space. But sometimes people keep their distance not because they wish you harm, but because they don't know how to be close to you. Distance can be a form of self-protection. Some people pull away not because they hate you, but because they don't trust themselves around you. Maybe you remind them of something painful. Maybe they see something in you that they once lost in themselves. Maybe they recognize a truth in you that they are not ready to face in their own life. A person's distance is not always a reflection of your worth. You have to remember that. Some people walk away from relationships, friendships, or even casual interactions because they don't have the emotional capacity to be present. And that's not about you. That's about them. Some people have been through things that have made them wary of connection. They've learned to associate closeness with pain, and so they push people away before they can get hurt. It's not that they hate you. It's that being around you forces them to confront feelings they don't want to face. And then there are those who keep their distance out of respect. They know they don't have the right energy to be in your life. They know they can't be the friend, the colleague, the person you deserve. So rather than bring you chaos, they step back. That's not hate. That's restraint. That's self-awareness. So if someone keeps their distance but doesn't actively try to hurt you, don't be so quick to call it hatred. Sometimes the best thing a person can do for you is to step aside. And if they do, let them. They treat you differently in private than in public. A person who truly hates you will be consistent in their dislike. They'll treat you poorly no matter the setting. But if someone acts cold toward you in front of others, but is more neutral or even kind when no one else is around, that's not hatred. That's something else entirely. Some people are influenced by their surroundings. They act differently depending on who they're with. Maybe they feel pressure from others. Maybe they're afraid of what people will think if they show kindness toward you. Maybe they're stuck in a mindset where they feel the need to maintain an image, even at the cost of being inauthentic. And then there are those who struggle with their own identity. They don't know where they stand, so they waver. Around certain people, they act one way. When they're alone, their true self comes through. That's not hate, that's insecurity, that's uncertainty. That's someone who hasn't fully figured out who they are yet. Some people feel guilt for how they treat you in public, but they don't know how to change. They might make up for it in small ways when no one else is watching. A slight nod, a softer tone, a look that says, "I don't hate you, I just don't know how to be around you." That's not an enemy. That's a conflicted person. You see, hatred is bold. Hatred is loud. Hatred doesn't change depending on the setting. But when someone wavers between cold and cordial, between distant and engaged, that's not hatred. That's hesitation. That's fear. That's an internal battle they haven't resolved yet. So if someone treats you differently in public than they do in private, don't mistake their inconsistency for hatred. Instead, recognize it for what it is: a reflection of their struggle, not yours. They seem to test you instead of attacking you. Hatred is direct. Hatred attacks, but sometimes people don't attack, you just feel like they do. Instead of outright hostility, they test you. They push you in small ways, almost as if they're trying to see what you're made of. That's not hatred. That's curiosity. That's a test of character. Some people come from environments where trust is earned, not given. They don't open up easily. They challenge people not because they dislike them, but because they want to see if they're real. They want to know if you're strong, if you're solid, if you're someone worth respecting. Think about it. Have you ever met someone who seemed to be hard on you for no reason? Maybe they questioned your decisions. Maybe they gave you a tough time. Maybe they never seemed fully satisfied with what you said or did. That's not always a sign of hate. Sometimes that's their way of measuring who you are. You see this a lot in leadership. The hardest mentors, the toughest coaches, the people who push you the most, they aren't necessarily against you. In fact, sometimes the ones who challenge you the hardest are the ones who see the most potential in you. They test you because they believe in you. But it's not just in leadership, it happens in friendships, in family dynamics, in workplaces. People test those they are uncertain about. They don't hate you, they just don't know if they can trust you yet. So the next time you feel like someone is being tough on you, ask yourself, are they tearing me down? Or are they testing me? Because knowing the difference, that can change everything. They show signs of respect even in their distance. Hatred is disrespectful. It belittles. It seeks to tear down. But if someone, despite their coldness, still shows signs of respect, then what you're dealing with is not hate. It's something much more complicated. A person who truly hates you won't hesitate to dismiss you, to mock you, to disregard you entirely. But if someone still acknowledges your work, still gives you credit when it's due, still shows moments of courtesy even in their distance, that's a sign that what they feel isn't hatred, it's conflicted respect. Some people don't know how to reconcile their emotions. Maybe they feel threatened by you. Maybe they admire something in you that they can't admit. Maybe they see qualities in you that they wish they had. That can create tension. But tension is not hatred. Respect can exist even in silence. Maybe they never openly praise you, but they never try to tear you down either. Maybe they keep their distance, but they never cross the line into cruelty. Maybe they don't act like your friend, but they don't act like your enemy either. That's not hatred. That's something more layered. And here's the thing, sometimes time reveals the truth. People who once seemed cold, people who once seemed distant, people who once seemed indifferent, might one day tell you, I always respected you, I just didn't know how to show it. So if someone keeps their distance but still treats you with a certain level of respect, don't mistake their hesitation for hatred. Sometimes respect is just hidden behind uncertainty. They react emotionally instead of indifferently. Hatred is cold. Hatred is indifferent. When someone truly despises you, they won't waste energy on you. They won't react. They won't care. But if someone shows strong emotions, frustration, irritation, even anger, that's not always a sign of hate. Sometimes it's a sign that they care more than they want to admit. Think about it. When you don't care about someone, you don't get emotional about them. You don't react to what they say. You don't let them get under your skin. True hatred, in its purest form, is not passionate, it's dismissive. It looks right through you. It acts as if you don't exist. But if someone seems easily triggered by you, if your words or actions seem to pull something out of them, then there's something deeper going on. Maybe you remind them of something they don't want to face. Maybe you challenge an insecurity they haven't dealt with. Maybe you bring out emotions they've been trying to suppress. People who react emotionally often do so because they have unresolved feelings. Maybe it's not hate at all. Maybe it's confusion. Maybe it's frustration with themselves. Maybe it's an internal struggle that has nothing to do with you, but everything to do with them. Some of the strongest friendships, deepest relationships, and most profound connections start with tension. Why? Because emotions mean something. They signal investment. They mean that, for better or worse, something about you matters to them. And if something matters, then there's more to the story than just hate. So the next time someone seems to react too strongly to your presence, don't just assume they hate you. Ask yourself, why do I get this reaction? Because the answer to that question might be far more complex than you ever expected. They imitate you instead of ignoring you. Hatred seeks to destroy. Hatred wants you gone. But if someone imitates you, if they pick up on your mannerisms, if they copy your ideas, if they seem to adopt certain aspects of your personality, then that's not hate. That's something entirely different. Imitation is one of the subtlest signs of admiration. Even when it comes from someone who acts like they don't like you. Sometimes People envy qualities they don't possess. They see something in you: confidence, creativity, leadership, resilience. And instead of openly appreciating it, they internalize it, they mimic it, they take pieces of it for themselves. You see this in workplaces, in friendships, even in rivalries. The person who seems to resist you the most might be the one paying the closest attention to how you move, how you think, how you operate. And that's not hatred, a complicated form of respect. Some people don't know how to express admiration. Maybe they were raised to see competition instead of camaraderie. Maybe they were taught that giving someone else credit makes them weaker. Maybe they have never been in a space where they could openly acknowledge someone else's greatness, but their actions betray them. If they truly hated you, they wouldn't borrow from you. They wouldn't take inspiration from your work. They wouldn't mirror your speech patterns, your habits, your mindset. That's not what enemies do. That's what unspoken admirers do. So if you ever notice someone subtly adopting aspects of your style, your ideas, your energy, pay attention. They might not say it, they might not show it, but deep down, they respect you more than they'd ever admit. Ladies and gentlemen, when you move through this world, you will meet all kinds of people. Some will love you, some will uplift you, and yes, some will truly hate you. But don't be so quick to assume that every difficult interaction, every moment of distance, every strange reaction is rooted in hate. People are complex. Their emotions don't always make sense. Not to you, and sometimes not even to themselves. Some people will keep their distance, not because they despise you, but because they fear what being close to you would mean. Some will react strongly to you, not because they want you gone, but because you stir something inside them they don't understand. And some will even imitate you, not because they want to take from you, but because deep down they admire you more than they can admit. Understanding the difference between hate and something deeper is a skill. It's wisdom. And when you master it, you will move through this world with a different kind of confidence, a different kind of peace. You will stop wasting time on people who don't truly hate you and start focusing on living your life fully and freely. So I leave you with this. Before you assume someone hates you, take a step back, look deeper. Ask yourself, is this really hate or is it something else? Because when you learn to see the truth behind people's actions, you unlock a power that most people will never understand. Thank you.